Having power fantasies is honestly really common for super creative people, but putting them into action is a bit more complicated, putting said fantasy into reality. Zack Snyder, for one, let's just go ahead, I should say, and revoke his fucking slow mo card, because what in the entire fuck was going on in this goddamn movie of Rebel Moon? What the fuck? We need to go ahead and revoke that card immediately. And he needs to realize that his big idea for a big franchise needed more than his quote unquote magic and stealing themes from multiple different like popular franchises. Like, it needs proper structure. Like, what the hell is going on? It needs proper storyboarding and not just this, right? This movie isn't boring per se. It's just empty, soulless, and overall just doesn't set up anything exciting for the viewer. Just nothing to look forward to besides this rebellion that I just don't give a fuck about. Like, it just doesn't give me any sort of like passion to really see them succeed at all. This movie is basically supposed to be like Star Wars, but it's Star Wars but less fun, less iconic, and the Empire is basically replaced by a more tame, and we didn't really see much of them, like Imperium of Man from Warhammer. It's just disappointing, and my disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. Well, the day I watched it, I was just so underwhelmed. It was just not it, Chief. What I will say though is that the visuals, the planets, the space tech, the aliens, like, it looks pretty damn good. I'll give you that, Zach. But everything else is just, it's not, it's just not good. But I was talking about this with some friends who have when I talked about it, they went ahead and watched the movie, and we all just came to agreement that this is just a nothing burger of a movie. So if you haven't watched it, if you haven't watched anybody talk about it, this is basically just a movie. A hyper lethal soldier went AWOL who decides to create a resistance to help defend her home after it's been put on the radar of the Imperium of whatever the fuck they like to be called themselves, right? After she kills a few, and she knows that they'll be back, so she goes off to gather people, and they get into a fight with the Imperium, whatever. They win, and then they go home to set up their resistance, and that's honestly it. That's that's it. They don't really do much. The whole movie can be summarized in literally a sentence. I feel like if Rebel Moon Part 1 and later on 2 were put together, it could have been a better movie if done right, because there is so much shit that really doesn't matter in the first movie. You could literally summarize the movie in a sentence. You can cut down the movie in like 30 minutes, maybe 20 if you really want to push it. And everything else does not matter because a lot of the cast doesn't talk to each other. A lot of their skills and everything, like them coming together, doesn't really fucking matter at all because they just join so easily. It just doesn't fucking matter. From my understanding, Zack directs his movies to be R-rated or M-rated, then cuts enough of the scenes to the point where it can fit the rating the movie is supposed to fit in, where he got all the money from, right? Hey, go ahead and and make this movie like a PG-13, and he makes it R-rated, then goes ahead and cuts enough of it to where it can fit like the PG-13 slot. What the fuck? Why would you do that? You guys know those shape games for kids? If Zach had one, he would just try to grab the square piece, cut enough of it to where it turns into a shitty circle, and try to ram it in the fucking toy. It's so stupid. That's him with this movie. In all honesty, I mean. There are plenty of potential in these characters, especially Cora, or I can't even pronounce her actual Imperium name, but the movie has a bad habit of telling us what's going on instead of showing, right? So the mini flashbacks are okay, but dear God, they are much more interesting than the actual fucking plot of this story. Like, oh my God. When I was going ahead and watching like the flashbacks and like the whole battles and everything, it looked fucking good. I wanted to see that shit. But then we go back to this rebel shit, and I'm like, I don't want that though. I want to see what she's been doing in the Imperium all these years that makes her basically a hyper lethal soldier in this whole like world, this franchise, right? Honestly, this just shows how much setting down the roots of your universe is so damn important, because we have here a resistance that no one gives a shit about. You may, like, if I go ahead and ask a quote unquote fan of this series, of this franchise, right? What what is so memorable about this movie? They will most likely talk about the action scenes. I'll ask about the story. I bet 9 times out of 10 they wouldn't even remember what the fuck is going on in the story. It's if Zach had properly planned with actual fucking competent people, and these writers, actual fucking competent writers, to help him storyboard and build a universe, then maybe this movie might have been more impactful. If we had a movie or two with Korra's time in the Imperium, letting us see how badass she can be with others who are equally as badass. The issue here is that she can be technically be called a Mary Sue. I really don't care about the term here because they actually give her history and so on, but we don't really see much about her upbringing besides the few flashbacks that we see that are much more interesting than the actual movie. But because immediately she is the best, especially among a ragtag group of people who all have their own skills that we sort of see. I think the most we've seen was the was the dual wielding lightsaber samurai woman, and that's the only one we really see of like their whole all their skills. I would much rather see her in the trenches with people as skilled as her in the field, going to battle, going to war, and fighting for the Imperium until at a certain point where she gets branded as a traitor for doing some crazy shit. I'm pretty sure Scargiver, like her nickname, is because she was the one that assassinated the king, queen, and princess. I am pretty sure. If not, I don't know why she's named Scargiver, if that's not the whole hook of the reasoning why she left, right? In my honest opinion, you don't need to make your main character the most powerful immediately either. You just need to be, subtle with the details, goddammit. Like, what the fuck? Korra could have been our bridge into seeing how the Imperium as a soldier in the front lines could, see how the Imperium is in the front lines with Korra at the helm as our bridge, right? I said it like twice already, but whatever. General Titus could have been our bridge into the more strategic and political side of the Imperium, which could have been great if they'd done it right. Kai could have been our bridge into the underworld of the world of Rebel Moon, and we could have seen a lot more bloody and fucked up parts of the world that isn't properly, seen through the Imperium's lenses. I think Kai was underutilized, and his death here, I'm like, oh, he just dies here. Awesome. And some bullshit way, I will say. Some bullshit way. And there's also Tarak, who is also some type of prince or some shit, right? And he is an interesting character, sort of, because he has a lot of ties to nature, I suppose. Maybe with him, he can be a bridge between the supernatural side or the nature side of the world of Rebel Moon. Funny enough, he could be in my head, I thought of him as Space Tarzan, if that makes any sense. Nemesis, who is the assassin with the two dual blade lightsabers, is an assassin herself, and it could have been cool that we use her as a bridge because she's a bounty hunter. She has a pretty interesting past, and she has a grudge with the Imperium. If they had it where she is the bridge into the more anti-Imperium efforts, and we see through that, and we see her work on and off with Devra, a leader of the Resistance, it could have been interesting that way to set up these individual characters in their own part of the galaxy where their factions sort of interact, battle with each other, but not the real heroes, right? Unless, there is some special movie going on, event, where the movie can take place and show these characters, battling each other, temporary alliances, so on and so forth. Instead, we got a group of characters who never really use their expertise in this movie, never really talk to each other either, and, they could have been replaced by regular people and would still fill in with what they did in the movie 90% of the time, if that makes sense. So, what's funny though? I honestly don't know what enemies the Imperium are fighting. Do they have alien races that they're fighting, or other humans that they're fighting, or they never specifically say. They just go to war, and war is what they do, and they take everything. And I'm just sitting here I don't know what's going on here with the battles in the universe, because it's a bit crazy. Like you don't know what's going on in the world of Rebel Moon besides, hey, these guys are obviously bad guys. You are the rebels. You're gonna go ahead and like grow up your little army of rebels and fight them and win. That just doesn't work for me personally because like especially with like a group that's supposed to be like a watered down version or like a version of the Imperium of Man. In Warhammer, the Imperium of Man fights a multitude of different factions, from aliens to demons who are crazy hostile to humans, to like orcs, to just crazy factions. And the Imperium aren't necessarily the good guys either, but they're just doing what's necessary for their own survival, for humanity's survival. So it's just, I don't know what Zack Snyder's trying to work here, but just his Imperium, I suppose, just isn't as interesting as the Imperium of Man from Warhammer, obviously, right? But I don't think this movie did a really great job showing the potential and the overall story of the enemy, like his Imperium, the rebels, the characters. It just did a disservice to them, I suppose. And Rebel Moon is trying to establish itself as a fucked up universe, but here it's trying to replace the Empire with the Imperium. We need much more than what is letting on here, for fuck's sake. Like, what the hell? What the hell is going on here? If we had a film or two with Core showing us how the Imperium here works and in detail, it would be fine. It would feel like we know more of the Imperium, and we would feel justified in seeing them fall potentially, right? Personally, I feel like this movie is a mess. It's soulless. It had potential if they took their time and they had each individual character help make the universe come alive. But I'm just some guy who writes books and makes videos on the internet. So that's it for this video. Honestly, this movie, I would say, is damn, I'm just disappointed by it. It's just, how would I rate this? It would be, this time I want to be harsh, because I know in the Yu Yu Hakusho one I didn't want to be harsh, but I kind of want to be harsh here. So I'd probably say that this is like a 5. Honestly, it's average, but it's not. It's just not good. Honestly, I wanted to say 4, but 5 I think would be a fine, little, like it would be fine. It would be fine. It's a 5. It is a 5, but I just hope that the second part does it justice more, and just because they say there's going to be more action and apparently more story just doesn't mean it's going to be good good story, right? Good action either, because the action in this one was kind of subpar, unfortunately. But that's it for this video. Like I said, I hope everyone's holidays were filled with presents, food, love, and all that crap, right? It's been a good year. Like, I've been going ahead and making more videos. I want to go ahead and make more videos, more comic stuff, more gaming stuff. I have some stuff in the works, so I'm glad that I can go ahead and make some more videos. It's honestly really nice that you guys are supporting me. Thank you guys so much, and catch you guys next time. Stay safe, stay healthy mentally, emotionally, and physically. Later.